Hello world, and welcome to our live stream. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Frequency Girl.
And today we're joined by Raven Monroe, also known as Sketchy Raven and to some as Lil Sis, here to tell us all about her book, Cookies N Screams, currently in crowdfunding over on Kickstarter. Raven, welcome to the show.
Hi! Thank you for having me.
We're so glad to have you here.
Yeah.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You just got engaged, didn't you?
I did. I literally just got engaged. Like, it's so exciting. My boyfriend and I have been together for like 4 years now. So 4 years, we got the ring, we're doing the thing. If it wasn't
That's
for him,
so cool.
Right? Like, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be making comics. He's the one who really pushed me to like start pursuing my goal when we first met. So so my name's Raven. I'm just your friendly local artist. I just like to draw. I just like to talk to people, have a good time. I served in the Marine Corps for a little bit. Now I make comics, so it's kind of two different worlds. I try not to intertwine the two. But yeah, that's basically it for me. I'm just a blabbermouth who likes to make comics and have a good time, you know?
That's fantastic. Frequency Girl and I have you beat, I think, by a factor of 3. We were together for like 12 years.
Yeah, 11 and a half.
Before we did the big, jump.
No,
thing.
love that though. Love that.
We had to make sure, she had to make sure that she could live with me.
I hear that.
Let's say hello to everyone in the chat real quick. We have got Creators Outlet. We have got Oliver from 656 Comics. What's up, Oli? We've got Mr. Mo Biggs, so you know it's a stream. We've got Frog G, Promoter Extraordinaire. We have got Ichthus up in the house. What is up, Total Excellence? And Mr. Jeremy Burtz. So thanks, guys. We've also got Robert Shepard dropping in to say hi. Thanks so much, guys, for showing up. We're really happy to have you. So let's talk a little bit more to Raven. How did you get involved in comics? What drew you to the medium?
I gotta blame my aunt when I was little. She got me a subscription to the Powerpuff Girls back when they were like a paperback comic, and it was over for me back then. I remember trying to like redraw the pages, and I was always obsessed with art growing up because there was nothing else to do. I grew up like, imagine this, picture this. Courage the Cowardly Dog in the middle of nowhere. That's where I lived. So all we had to do was play with our imagination, draw, create things. So that's what I did. So I spent a lot of time writing and drawing. And then I joined the military, and in that, it got me here to California, and that changed my life, and I got to meet so many amazing and interesting people who are incredibly passionate about what they were doing. Like a buddy of mine, Brian Ball, he was making a comic at the time. We were both in college. I was in college for accounting. Like, can you imagine that? Like, me an accountant right now? Ew, no thank you. So we were in college together, and he was telling me, like, yeah, I made a comic, I'm working on my next issue. And I was like, you made a comic? People can do that?
You mean Brian Ball, creator of Rags?
Yeah!
That's freaking amazing. I love that comic.
Yeah,
it's so good.
I did the colors for him once we started like really being buddies and stuff. So I do colors for Rags, and then that was kind of like my introduction to like the comic industry was through him, because he was like, yeah, I made a comic. And I was like, you can do that. And he's like, yeah, you can. And I was like, oh,
that's great.
I didn't think that like that was something you could do professionally unless you were hired by a big company like Marvel or DC. And I was never the type of person who was super into superheroes and violence. As you can tell by Cookies and Scream, I'm kind of into goofy stuff, And I was like, I don't know if I can ever make a comic like that. And then I started looking into it and doing a lot of research on my own, and I found Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and I started meeting these independent creators who were so amazing and passionate about their projects. And seeing that, I was like, wow, it really is possible. You really can do this. So 2019, I launched my first Kickstarter for Machi the Lazy Witch. And it happened, it got fully funded. Everyone came out. There was so much support. I was not expecting it at all. And I've just been doing it ever since. Like, I've been working my keister off, you know?
That's great, because a lot of people that we talk to, they usually got into comic books in the 80s, 90s, you know, Image started coming around, people fell in love with Spawn or Savage Dragon or the Max. Some people just, you know, were following Spawn, Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man before they went over. Some people like, you know, the Claremont X-Men runs. But it's great to hear that you had a very similar experience with a non-Marvel DC mainstream comics property, like something like the Powerpuff Girls. But it's the same thing. You know, you fell in love with the art, you fell in love with the characters, the medium of expression. You tried to recreate the pages. And that sounds just like what so many people say. They're like, yeah, I started tracing them because I loved it. And so it just goes to show it doesn't really matter what style of comic book or what genre or what like discipline. The love of the art form is really kind of what brings 100%. People or motivates them to get involved in sequential art. Hey, what's up, Riser Man? How's it going?
We also have
an Era Saga. What's up, Brian? Glad to have you. Would you ever consider doing plushies by any chance?
I'm looking into it currently. Like, I would love to so bad. I did reach out to
plushies are going to be the next big thing. I'm telling you, they're definitely going to be the next big thing.
I'm looking into it.
So, other than the Powerpuff Girls, and you mentioned Courage, so obviously that era of Cartoon Network was very influential. She's such a youngin', you know? Like, we did too, but she watched it growing up.
That's true.
You know, like we watched it in college. we were a little older at the time.
I don't know if you're right about that.
I think my internet's going poop on me. I apologize.
It might be ours. Our internet does cut out sometimes, but other than like the Powerpuff Girls, Courage the Cowardly Dog, that kind of genre of, or I guess that art style, that's the Jendi Tartakovsky.
I might have to leave and come back in.
For Courage.
You have to leave and come back in. Okay. You guys are good in the chat, right? Okay, we'll drop you real quick, and
we'll hang out and then come back in. In the meantime, we will say
hi to Hockey. How's it going, Hockey? And we have a Mrs. Good Stuff.
Hey, Mrs. Good
Hey, how's it going, Mrs. Good Stuff?
How are you?
Been a while since we saw you. Glad to have you back in the chat.
Will says, "Oh, great, the return of Beanie Babies."
Yeah, it's gonna happen though, man. Like that's the thing. People love figures and fun merch, like that right over there.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it, Brian. I love it. We have the other one too. Yeah, these are both prototypes from Aerith Saga, the plushies that Brian made.
They're a little bit keep me company during the day while I work.
They're a little bit big. I think we can get the sizing down, like you were saying, sort of more Beanie Baby size. But I think that's the direction that things are going to go as far as like crowdfunding merch is concerned.
Floop and Ploop. Floop and Ploop. Yes, it's Floop and Ploop.
Miss Good Stuff says, been working loads of overtime. Glad to see you too. Hey, we've got a Dean up in the chat. What's up, Comics Mate? Thanks for stopping by. And Riserman says, I need to look into a Riserman plushie or even action figures. See, that would be cool. Yes. Action figures, too. Miniatures, action figures, physical manifestations of people's intellectual property or, you know, the content of the campaign. So if you're doing a comic book, having some sort of phys rep of what's in the comic. I think that's the direction that people are going to start going with the next couple of incarnations of campaigns when they start investing more in their brands. Hey, what's up, Robert? And we've got 24 Eyes as well. Yeah, how's it going, man?
We also have
a Raven. Hey, welcome back. Sometimes it's our internet. Oh, you on your phone now?
Yeah, my computer was being funky. I'm going to try to get back in on my computer, but just in case, I've got this. I'm so sorry.
Cool. Hey, man, you got backup plans.
Exactly.
Plans within plans. I love
just in case.
So, what other mediums do you draw upon for inspiration? Like I was saying, you definitely drew upon the comic books and cartoons of that era. Do you ever find movies or music to be inspiring for your creation of comic books?
Oh man, I really love anime. Like I'm a huge anime fan, so I love the different storytelling done through anime. And for movies, I really love like Pixar, Disney, those goofy animated movies. I'm a
Hey
big
man,
sucker for those.
Pixar hits you every
yeah.
movie. It doesn't matter. It makes you cry. They have it down to a science. They have
They
the
do.
I push a button and you cry. Like literally
They're
in
so good
oh,
at it.
it's been 32 minutes in, cry. 54
Yeah.
minutes,
Cry
cry.
again.
Like they literally have a button they can push to make you cry.
Cry
It's
more.
great.
What is your favorite? Do you have a favorite Pixar movie?
Oh my gosh. Okay, it's silly. The movie Up. We're talking about crying. That's so funny. I
Yeah, it's
love
a fantastic movie. It really
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
so
wrecks me.
beautiful.
But love it. Yep.
Same,
It works on so many
same.
levels. It's funny. It's touching. It makes you cry. It's just so good.
And the soundtrack.
I don't know, Mo. Yeah, the soundtrack's phenomenal. That's
yeah.
how they get you. They pair the dramatic story, voice lines, visuals, and then the score
Yes.
and the combination of those, your brain making sense of what's going on, like the action processing, the events, paired with the the experience of hearing the music. That's what turns on the waterworks.
So I don't know if you're on TikTok at all, but
Yeah,
there was
I
like
am.
a whole over the like at the beginning during the pandemic, there was the whole like make a Disney show into a musical, and like they did the whole Ratatouille thing. There was a whole up
and then they-
section.
I know
Where
what you're
did you
talking
see any of that?
Oh,
Yeah.
look at her!
Oh,
You're making her tear up.
right. Oh my god, it was so good, but just
It's
like
so good.
bawling. Like I need that to be a thing. Like more. I don't care about Ratatouille. Make
Yes.
up the musical, please.
I'm a sucker for musicals. I am so obsessed with them. So I'm right there with you. If they make it a musical, let's all go get tickets. Popcorn's on me.
Yes.
Like, let's go.
Yep.
Y'all vibing, I love it.
Yeah.
So, how'd you get into illustration? You said you were always kind of into art, and growing up there wasn't much to do other than play with your imagination. But when did you
Yep.
start cultivating your artistic talents?
Oh man, I think it had to be 7th grade, and this is embarrassing. Okay, 7th grade, there was a boy that I had a big old crush on, and I heard him talking to his friends saying like, "Oh, I really like this show called Naruto," and I remember thinking, "I'm gonna watch that show. Maybe we could talk about it." And I forgot about him after I watched the show. I forgot about him completely. I became obsessed with this show, and I was so obsessed that like I wanted to have posters. I wanted to have like figures, but I grew up like so low income it may as well have been a game of limbo, right? So there was no getting posters of mainstream anything for me. So if you wanted something, you had to make it. So I was making these little posters and these little illustrations and my own comics about these characters because I couldn't afford it, but I never saw that as a problem. I always saw that as like a fun thing to do. So like that's when I started drawing and started to take it more seriously, because before then I would draw just doodles on margins of my paper in school, just for funsies. But that's when I started thinking like, no, I actually want this to look good. Like I want to put this on the front page of my notebook and not have someone laugh at me. So I started working really hard on my stuff, and from then I just really fell in love with art as an outlet. There's nothing else to do in my hometown besides get bit by mosquitoes. So I was like, you know what? Let me make something that's cool, and those mosquitoes can kick rocks. So that's where it really kicked off for me, was trying to impress a boy that I did not care about 5 minutes after watching an anime.
I mean, hey, there are things that happen for reasons, right? And
I'm saying.
discovering your artistic ability for whatever strange motivating factor or inciting incident, man, we're really glad that you did, because your book and just your art style in general is adorable.
I appreciate it.
So are you making art full time now? Are you making a go at going full time?
Yes, I actually am working my last shift at my part-time job today or tomorrow and Sunday, and I already put in my 2 weeks. That's it. I'm going full-time freelance artist. So I'll be working on comics and promotional art. I'll be available for whatever. So if y'all are looking for someone, I'm just saying hello.
I mean, I don't know. We just got 16 16 of your designs.
Were so fun to do. I can't even tell you. I was having so much fun with those. Your characters are so amazing. Like,
awesome.
I just gotta say it.
Your renditions of them are perfect.
Yeah,
we put them together on the buttons. It looks phenomenal.
Oh man, it was so cool. And then like you guys let me have so much free reign with like the poses and the stylings of it, so I was able to have like maximum fun with it. So I can't thank you enough.
I really wanted your version of it, like what you see in it. So
I appreciate that. I really do.
I think so. Here's a somewhat more serious question.
Yes.
A lot of people, including comic book pros, especially these days, aren't really comfortable with the idea of entering into the gig economy. How do you feel about that? Like freelance work is part of the gig economy. You take work when you need work, and you live off of what you make. And as you get more and more jobs, I guess you make more and more money, but you don't have a steady or stable source of income. It's funny. A lot of younger people, millennials or even Gen Z, they're fine with the idea of kind of like ad hoc work. But some of the older generations, my generation, Gen X and like older people in Gen X, that kind of worries them. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, fantastic question. I'm glad you asked. So it is. I'm on the edge of that sword. I'm both incredibly nervous and excited about it. I've been doing freelance artwork for the past 8 years or so, but I've only been doing comics like the past 3 years. So in jumping into like full-time freelance artist with a focus in comics, I'm worried a little bit, but also over the past 2-3 years since I made my first comic, Machi the Lazy Witch, back in 2019, I've cultivated or come across some of those amazing people, and the networking with them has been fantastic. So I feel that even when there is a slow time, someone will say something and they'll send them my way, and then things will be okay. Like, I have faith because of the friends that I've made that I'm not going to go hungry for long if I do go hungry. There will always be some work to be done, and I am probably one of the hardest working people besides my friends. I surround myself with people who work harder than me, which is crazy. You know how it is. So I work my keister off and do my best to continue relationships with people after projects. So even now, I've got return clients that I've been working with for the past 2 years, and I adore them. I may as well just send them Christmas cards at this point. But because of the relationships with them, I feel more confident now than ever in pursuing a career as a gig artist.
It's a great answer, because I think what a lot of people my age right now or older are forgetting is that we're all kind of in it together. If you're an indie creator and you want to create things independently, you're creating alongside other indie creators who also want to be doing the same thing. So working together is the best way to be doing that. So, people who are in the industry right now, they very much make their paycheck from that one source, and they may not have all of these peers who are pulling them in to do other sorts of work. I think as people who are younger and have more of like a plastic brain to experience this kind of newer way of doing business move to the forefront, we're going to see a lot more of this free-spirited indie community where people are making their own comics, marching to the beat of their own drum, and just kind of composing a symphony together. I want to say, hey, what is up, Good Stuff? Mrs. Good Stuff and Mr. Good Stuff are both in the chat. Thanks so much, guys, for stopping in.
We almost have the whole family. We're just missing a little Good Stuff.
Maybe we'll see her on Sunday. We got Crack Pack Backs Day. Bow. Bow. So yeah, this book is on Kickstarter right now. You did the Machi the Lazy Witch on Kickstarter, and that's still available, I think, on your website for $1 in digital form.
Yes.
But what you're doing now is getting Cookies and Screams into physical form to put it in backers' hands.
Yes. Yes.
So, want to tell me a little bit more about the world of Cookies and Screams?
I would love to. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Cookies and Scream is it's my brain baby that I had back in October of last year. 2020 Halloween, I was on Twitter scrolling. I saw this artwork by an amazing artist. Again, like we were talking before, like the community of comic creators. I was going through Twitter and I saw this artwork by this amazing artist named Gilly Arts. They do really cool monster designs. And I was like, dang, those designs are amazing. And then I started thinking, I was like, those monsters are cute. I wonder what would happen if a Girl Scout had to sell cookies to monsters. What would that look like? And growing up, like with the Cartoon Network era that we talked about before, with Courage the Cowardly Dog, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, the very kind of dark, spooky, funny stuff. That's where my heart is at. I adore things like that. So I started thinking, like, I need to make a comic about a Girl Scout that sells cookies to monsters, and what her interactions with those characters would be. Would she be scared? Would she like it? Would it be funny? And I started sitting down and coming up with the idea. So Cookies N Scream has been in the works for almost a year now. Halloween will be its little anniversary, so it'll be in people's hands on the anniversary of its brain birth. So Cookies N Scream is about a little sugar scout named Audie Audley and her best pal in the whole wide world, Gus Gus, who's a giant Argentine tegu. He's a big old lizard dog, basically. These two are just thank you. These two are just absolute weirdos. Like, they don't fit in. They are the odd ones out. So in the Sugar Scout group, they're left behind. And this cookie season, Audie's had enough. She's like, no, you know what? I'm not doing this again this year. We're going to sell all these cookies, Gus, and we're going to get that tiara of terrific transactions. We're going to show them what for. and they start off on their adventure, and no sooner do they start their adventure than Gus finds them on the spooky side of town, where they're not selling cookies to old ladies, they're selling it to old lady vampires. Exactly. So little Audie, who's been the odd one out her whole life, is suddenly in a world where everything is just as odd and strange as she is. So the story is like her adventure through this town and meeting all these interesting characters and trying to sell cookies, you know, and exploring all these fun things in a very wacky, very lighthearted storytelling format. So it's all ages, and it's just a good time. That's what I'm saying. It's just a good time.
Really dig it. So they say write what you know. How did you come up with this idea? Were you a Girl Scout? Are you a witch? Do you own a lizard? Are you drawing off of life experience for this, or do you just have an incredibly active imagination?
Bless. I was a Girl Scout for all of 2 years before I quit, because I didn't like Girl Scouts. I was drawing from experience. I was an odd one out. And I didn't stick it out. I said, you know what? Nana boo boo, I don't like you guys anyways. So I left.
Yep, I was a brownie for a year, and then I'm like, nope.
Yeah, right? It's like, oh man, this is not my cup of tea. But with Audie, her dad is really trying to get her to make friends, and they're in such a small town that this is the best way for her to make friends. So she doesn't really have much of a choice, unfortunately. So she's trying.
Robot!
Uh-oh.
That's us.
Is it us, or
That's
is
us.
it...
She paused,
Raven?
so that's us.
I'm not sure.
Obsessed.
Wait.
No, we're fine.
It was breakdancing for a minute.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if you cut out for the chat or if you just cut out for us. I don't know if it was our internet that
I'm pretty
time.
sure it was ours.
I saw it on both things, so I don't know. My internet. I am so sorry, guys. I
It's okay.
apologize.
No worries. It happens to us all
Ours
the
is pretty
time.
awful too. They're
I
talking about
appreciate you.
reviewing the Lucent Michael Bancroft's book in the chat, so we might just see some of that. And Dean is right. I keep calling it Cookies N Screams, plural. I know it's Cookies N Scream, but that's just because I want more than one of these books, Dean. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, there we
I
go.
wanna
That's the
see
way to
another
do
one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's fun.
Hopefully we didn't, but we'll keep this going. So,
I
yeah,
have
you
a
said
tendency to just do stupid dancing when I don't know what else to do. So
When
that's
you're
not the
remote.
breakdancing thing. That's just me being awkward.
so.
That's fun.
They're trying to sell cookies. Are there
Yeah.
stakes involved? I mean, I know we're vampires.
Steaks,
Of course, you would think of the steak.
Yes,
food,
of course.
and
I think
I
of
make
food
the joke related to the book because there's vampires and
and you steak them. No, but steaks. Cookies are food too, so it's not that far off.
fair enough.
I wish
So
I made a
what
steak flavored cookie now.
what are the stakes if they fail to claim the tiara of terrific transactions?
it would be gutting for them, unfortunately. So what happens is they're split off into groups.
Werewolf gutting or just
Oh no! Ooh, that'd be spicy though. No, so in the beginning of the story, not to spoil too much, but there's this big bully, and she gets partnered with Audie, and she tells Audie, "Hey, you're gonna go sell these cookies, and you're gonna pretend that we were there, and you're gonna sell these cookies for us. And if you don't, then I'm gonna tell everyone that you and your lizard eat bugs together." Like just bully stuff, you know? Yeah, scandalous, right? So. So Audie's like, you know what? I am going to sell all these cookies, but I'm not going to let you take the credit. I'm going to get this jar for myself. So
I'm going to learn to draw Naruto on my own.
Exactly.
I can't get the Walmart poster, but I'll make it on my own, you know?
So is there any subtext that you're exploring here? Any like underlying themes? Or is this just really pure entertainment for the sake of telling a wonderful story about endearing characters that has hopefully a positive resolution?
Exactly that second half right there. It's really meant to just be a goofy story, nothing too serious. Like with my first comic, it was more of a gentle love letter to mental health and creators and how being creative all the time can be mentally draining. But for this one is just pure sugar, just lighthearted. You're just meant to enjoy this comic with a cookie and a good movie or something in the background. You know, it's just meant to be good fun, nothing too serious, just an easy read.
I know, Mo. I know. It's killing me too inside. Why don't we take a look at the campaign then? Why don't you load it up so that Raven can tell us all about what is going on this campaign page? Now you have 112 backers. That is fantastic. What a strong a strong showing for your second time out. The thing with Kickstarter is you only get to go those 30 days, so this is really wonderful that you've hit 112 already.
I am so grateful to everyone.
Looks very well thought out. So why don't you take us through some of the tiers? I know this is Mo's favorite part of the show.
For sure. So with Cookies N Scream, we have a digital option for anyone who just wants to get the digital version. Any bonus pages will also be included with that. We have 27 pages of story, and I'm tossing around between 3 to 4 bonus pages depending on what time allows. I really want to include like some mini comics, but I don't want to commit to it just yet in case I don't get time for it. So all of the bonus content will also be available for digital backers. So we start off with the digital, and then we go on to like the blind box of bewilderment, where I've gone and designed all the cookies available in the story. So like there's Thick Mints and Yeehaws and Sad Boys, and you can get one of the 7 cookie boxes at random. So there it is.
Do they actually have cookies in them?
I wish. No, unfortunately, those are just little pins. But hopefully one day we can get the cookies made. They're pins.
Boxes with no cookies. Okay.
That'd be really cute. That would be. But I would worry about shipping. I need a box for my tiny box.
Yes.
I don't know how the mail post would like that.
I mean, I was hoping they had actual cookies in it. I was gonna go. Change my
wish, man. I wish.
Maybe next time. Maybe it's not plushies. Maybe it's baked goods. That's going to be the next big thing.
I think plushies are actually easier than baked goods.
Say. So there are the pins available, and then the physical comic comes with like postcards and bookmarks and stickers and all that good jazz, along with digital as well. And you can add a blind box for a pin at any tier as an add-on. You can also add a variant cover at any tier. So if you just want to buy a digital and get the variant cover B done by the amazing Kato and Guna, which is that blue and pink swirly one. If you want to get just that, you can do that. It's available when you go to checkout. The coolest tier, though, that I really want to talk about is the king size candy bar tier, which comes with these super cute little figures. Partnered with like an amazing manufacturer for these toys, and I'm going to be hand painting them all with Citadel paints. So like the paints used by
she's using Citadel paints. Right on.
Yeah.
So that's GW brand.
Yeah. So we'll be doing the Citadel paints, and hang on, I'll show you the thing again.
Wait, hold on. Big again.
This is just a prototype, so forgive the paint that's already on it. This is just a stamp, a tester.
Oh, that's cool.
But hey, it's like the size of a coffee cup. So it's good size, it's well balanced, it's got a flat bottom so you can have it on your desk. And like I said, I'm going to be hand painting all of these and sending them out. There's only 16 left. And then after that, there will be no more hand painted ones. That's going to be it, unfortunately.
Wow.
So if I can get a home for those last 16, that would make my whole year. I would love that so much. It would make it possible for us to do more toys in the future.
Nice.
But right now, these are the ones that we have. I went and designed them, and they had a 3D modeler go, and literally, they really copied what I drew. I was so impressed. They just took
That's
it straight off of the page and made it to a figure. It was so cool.
That's very cool.
Plus, and that tier comes with everything. It comes with variant covers, the pin, prints, little postcards from the good side of town and the spooky side of town. It comes with the whole shabam.
Yeah, so it comes with 2 of those special cookie pins.
Yes.
Cool.
2 out of the 7. So you still get the random fun like mystery aspect of it, which I don't know about you guys, but like I've noticed that a lot of people who are into the comic industry are also like collectors.
Yeah, I was
in
going to
one way,
say, I
shape,
like
form, or
Thin
another.
Mints, but I'm not crazy about Samoas. So if I got a box of Samoas, like randomly, I might be disappointed. Is there a way to collect all the pins?
There is a tier specifically to get every single pin. Let me, unfortunately, I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head. But
We'll find
yeah,
it.
there is a way. There you go.
If it's not, it's got to be the other way. The king size candy bar is the one that comes with the figure.
Yeah.
So it's got to go,
Yeah.
gotta go the other way. Double stuffed.
Oh, that comes with
That's how I like
cover
my
A and
cookies.
cover B. Yeah.
That lime ups. I know. I love the puns on the cookie boxes
But-
too. It's something Garrett would appreciate. He is
Oh, is it
upstairs
that-
right now
Oh,
doing thumbnails.
this one, Blind Box of
There it is.
Bewilderment set.
Right, the blind
There you
box. The
There we
set.
go.
Got
The
it.
set.
Set, full set. Yep. There you go. So you can get them all. They're like these itty bitty pins. They're super cute. They fit in like little ball capsules. They're really adorable. I'm a sucker for them. So I hope that everyone else digs them too. I went and did the packaging like inspired by like vintage Girl Scout cookies.
Hmm.
So that's why we have like the colors we do.
Much better than the modern stuff. That's so
Oh.
much more like photo realistic. I love the illustration, or actually the more graphic design rather than the
Thank you,
photos of
thank
Girl
you.
Scouts selling Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're weird. Garrett's probably eating some sad boys as we speak.
Oh no, poor Gavin.
No, it's true. It's true. We have him locked up on his easel doing thumbnailing for the page 40 to 50 block to make sure that he gets that done. And yeah, I
That's
love the fact that you
exciting
have
stuff.
sad boy cookies. That was a brilliant joke, Mo. My favorite one of the show. Much better than my lame steak joke.
Much.
No,
much.
he was medium rare.
Oh. I like it.
Oh, this is terrible.
Ahoy, what about?
Hey, what about what's going on? So
Aaron lost his
I
place.
lost my
I'm
place.
trying to look at his questions.
my
and be like,
questions.
what was I going to ask next?
let's talk about stretch goals.
Oh,
I broke the internet.
you did. It happens a lot.
Here we go.
Yay!
So let's talk about stretch goals.
For sure.
That would mean you
They're
scroll.
up at the top.
You got. Yeah, there you go. Scroll. Good.
Here we are.
Ta-da!
Pretty.
So we've already unlocked the $4,000 one.
Yes.
Clearly. Right?
The bravery patch.
And we're on our way. We
And we
unlocked
also
the
did
second
the
one.
$5,000 one.
And we're
the
on our way
friendship
to hitting that $6,000 one. Now,
Yeah.
why did you decide to do goals every $1,000?
It made more sense to me that way because the manufacturer that I'm doing for the patches, it just made more sense to me when it goes to breaking up the money. The less I have to like sit and like dollar and dime, the less chance there is for like error. So I just figured I'd just do it at the thousands. That would make the most sense for me. So yeah, that was my reasoning. Keep it simple, keep it safe.
So the sash at 6,000, is that for us to put our patches on?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That's awesome.
That
I
is
love that.
wonderful. I think we should probably get that unlocked so that Shay has something to put her patches on.
It's true.
Other than,
Oh my gosh, I love
badass
Shay.
battle
Shay's
rat
the best.
jacket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's where we were told you got the nickname Lil Sis.
It is. Oh my gosh. When I first went on their show, they were so sweet and so nice to me. Like, oh, I love them so much. We just clicked immediately, and ever since then, that's how we address each other. It's just, sis, oh my gosh, sis, how you doing, sis? Like, they're family. They're family now.
That's awesome.
That is great.
Yeah.
I love those guys too.
Yeah.
So
Best.
how did you get into crowdfunding on Kickstarter? I know that you know some people in indie comics. I know Brian usually crowdfunds on Kickstarter. Is that kind of what led you over there?
So when I first met Brian, he was very anti-crowdfunding. He's very
Really?
do-it-yourself, you know,
Oh, so like
do-it-yourself
direct.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense, you know. And well, when you have a job that pays that well, I mean, you could do it. Unfortunately for me, my military experience didn't transfer over to civilian life, so I wasn't able to make that great of money. So I was like, oh, well, I know how to make a comic, and I have a comic ready to go. I just need help getting it out there. So I started researching, and I looked into Kickstarter because there was this creator that I was following who made a comic called Danny and Ramen. It's a very Adventure Time-esque story. And I really liked their book. I really liked their Kickstarter that they did for it. So I started researching Kickstarters really heavily. Like, okay, what does it take to make a Kickstarter? What can make it fail? Like, what can I do to make sure that I have the most successful Kickstarter possible? And is this even a good option for me? So I started doing like a whole lot of research and comparison. And even to this day, when I'm bored, I'll hop on Kickstarter and see what's floating about the little fish pool here. But Danny and Ramen's kind of what kicked it off for me, was seeing how the comic was created and people interact with it. And it was incredibly successful, which was another thing that made me think, okay, you know what, maybe this is possible. So when I took the plunge and jumped into it, I was just a little bitty nobody. You know what I mean? I'm still pretty tiny. But I was just little itty bitty baby Raven who didn't know, you know, how scary crowdfunding could be. All I knew was that if I was going to take a whole bunch of all-nighters, I was going to do it. So I jumped into it, and like I said, I was so floored with the response and the outpour of people who came to support the comic, especially my first one, that it blew me away. I just cried for like days. I just cried for days. I was like, everyone's so nice.
Yeah, Brian is killing it on Patreon. I have to confess, I am one of Brian's patrons. I do it to get special access to the merch and the books, and they really have a intelligent way of kind of setting that up. But I'm glad that you went in that direction, because books like this succeed really well over on Kickstarter. It has almost a built-in audience. It's weird because it's got sweet, wonderful, adorable comic books, and then it's got these real bad girl, sexy, naked comic books. So it's these very two polar opposites almost.
Exactly, very
that
polarizing.
Seem to thrive over there. Yeah. So do you think that you would ever run this in demand on Indiegogo?
I've thought about it, but no sooner did I finish getting all of the black and white pages for Cookies N Scream put together prior to the flatting, then a startup publishing company reached out to me, and they were like, hey, we really like what you're doing. We want to be a part of this. And I was like, well, you want to be a part of this? I basically already done it myself. What can you do? And they were like, well, we can make you
What
toys.
can you offer?
And I was like, oh, right. And I was like, you can do toys. And then there are local creators, and there are also people that I've known for years. I've been a regular at their shop for years, and I know they're good people. So they were like, yeah, we're going to start our own publishing company, and we really like what you do, and we really want to have you be our first title. And I was like, well, all right, let's talk about that. So with Cookies N Scream, unfortunately, I won't be able to go in demand on Indiegogo. Not just yet, but it's something we're discussing. Yeah, because we've been picked up.
That's fantastic. You know,
Really cool.
it's even
Very
better
fortunate.
when we get a way to buy direct from the creator.
Yeah.
I love the crowdfunding platforms because you get to be a part of the experience, and there's a whole community of creators that are keyed in to developing and sourcing their projects that way. But when you get a direct distribution arrangement like that, then you develop your own fan base kind of independent of the crowdfunding platform. And that can be really exciting for people, especially because I'm sure there are indie creators who want to get into some sort of distribution deal like that, or any sort of publishing deal like that, rather than having to do it on their own like Brian, or do it in crowdfunding like the rest of us. So how did that make you feel when they approached you and they said, we like what you're doing, we want you to be our first book?
I thought they were kidding at first. I was like, me, little old me, you want me to be your first book? Because it was funny. When I was working on Cookies and Scream, Audie, she's a big comic fan, you know, which leads to a whole lot of fun character cameos throughout the story, a bunch of cameos from other independent creators. And I said, oh, well, if Audie likes comics and she's buying comics, she needs to buy it from a comic shop. So I reached out to the store that in question, the publishers. They're called TC Rockets. And I was like, hey, would you guys be okay if I cameoed your store? And they were like, you know what? Yeah, we would love that. This would be our first cameo ever. That would mean a lot to us. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I put them in Cookies and Scream, and then they ended up picking Cookies and Scream up as publishers. So
that's great. Yeah.
Very.
It's all about making those genuine, you know, good connections where you're sending out those good vibes and getting people involved in what it is you do. So, I know you're going into like, you know, independent publishing, direct to market and direct to distribution now. So, but what challenges have you had to face while crowdfunding your project and your previous project too?
For this one specifically, I got hit with a whirlwind of life during the campaign. My fiance, I just got engaged, you know, my fiance was graduating his Army infantry training, and I desperately wanted to go see him. I hadn't seen him in a long time. So I did a cross-country road trip, and in being gone from the 15th until this morning, I just got home this morning, so you have to forgive me. In being gone for so long, I wasn't able to promote the campaign as much as I normally would have liked to. But fortunately, because of my experience with the first Kickstarter, when I did this one, I did a pre-launch page. And, oh, someone back, bless you, thank you so much. So in my experience with that, I did a pre-launch page for Cookies and Scream, and I set it up like months in advance, thankfully. And I was so surprised, like 140 people had signed up for it by the time the comic actually launched. And that made me want to cry, because my first comic, I think 106 people turned out for it, which is amazing, absolutely amazing. But just seeing like that more people came, I was, oh, my heart, like all of you are about to get a big old hug, I swear. Like once all this stuff is over, you let me know, line up, I'll hug you. But yeah, so in that, I was gone for a while, so I wasn't able to do promotions as much as I would have liked to. But fortunately, in preparing a little bit ahead of time, it feels like it almost evened itself out. I'm really hoping that the people who want this got a chance to see it before it's gone. It's only got 3 days left. So to answer your question, that whole freaking thing right there was the hardest part.
Well, you also had people from the first time round who were getting the word out, spreading the word, putting, you know, their faces on social media, sending out tweets, stuff like that. And that's kind of what I loved about crowdfunding, was making that network of people who were interested in helping us succeed. So you can bet now that you're going to go into like, you know, in the independent publishing and direct marketing, like we're still going to be involved in seeing what it is you put out there, except we're not going to have to like wait until one campaign goes through the whole, you know, funding process and then goes into fulfillment, and then we can just be like, hey, look, get the new book, which is really exciting. So do you have any recommendations? Oh, I totally forgot to ask you about the team you put together.
Oh, yes.
I skipped one of my questions. So you're the writer, obviously, and the colorist, and I think you did inks, but that's not the line work. The line work's pencils, and there's other elements that go into making the comic. Who does what, and how'd you find them?
Fantastic. I love that question. Thank you. I love bragging on my team whenever I can, because they are I love them. I love them. They are the sugar and butter to my cookies. I swear, they make it possible. So the artist, Gilly Arts, I found them on Twitter, like I mentioned back in October of last year. They did these amazing monster designs, And I fell in love with it. And I said, wow, I got to reach out to them and see if they're available. And sure enough, they'd done comic work in the past. And I said, oh my gosh, I want your character work. And then I want a very specific style of backgrounds, very full, very colorful. And a friend of mine who I knew from a previous project hooked me up with, I think it's her roommate, or a friend of hers. Her name's Lauren Radiker, and she is an amazing artist. She's an animation student. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, would you be interested in this? She's like, yes, absolutely. And I said, would you be okay with doing just the pencils on that? And she's like, yeah, for sure. So she came in and she filled these backgrounds in with, I wish that I could just go and publish the comic in 3 different chunks, like one version with just characters, one version with just backgrounds, like, because Lauren did some beautiful detailing these backgrounds that make it so full and the exact style that I was wanting. They did amazing work. And then my little brother, Izuru, he did the flat colors for me. And he does flats for all of my projects, even my commissions. I usually have him do flats for me because he's amazing and he's so quick and he knows exactly how I need it. He labels everything for me. He's everything. He's my right-hand man.
You trained him too, didn't you?
Yeah. It's funny, when I was doing Machi, my first comic, I had just finished issue 1. I was finishing up issue 2, and I was noticing that my time was getting eaten by doing flats. So I messaged him and I was like, hey, do you think you'd be able to help me out? Because when we were growing up, he was always there to help me. Like if I needed someone to hold
fabric. I thought that was going to go in a
cutting.
different direction. Because when we were growing up, I made sure you didn't get eaten by wolves. So now you owe me.
That too. No, it's junkyard dogs in our case. But no, it was he was my best friend growing up, and even to this day, he helps me so much with anything that I need. He's always so excited to help. So I said, hey, do you want to do flats for me? And he's been doing flats for me ever since, like a full-time comic flatter now. He's fantastic. We just got his supplies upgraded. He went from like one of those rinky-dink tablets to a Cintiq. So now he's got the tools he needs to succeed. I love it for him. But he is what helped me with all the colors and everything. So with Lauren Radiker, Gilly Arts, and my brother Izuru, the 4 of us were able to come together and make these pages happen. And the power of YouTube and Google. Can't forget those guys. They helped a lot too. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Very cool.
The team, bringing the team together is always an important part of the process. And when you finally turn out work that is exciting your audience and people start giving you the feedback where you're like, oh, wow, they like what we did. It really feels like that team pulled something off. So that must be a really great feeling for you guys to all share together. So what was the hardest part of making the comic or making comics in general?
The hardest part of making the comic, I think, was moving from the script to the actual pages. Translating what was in my head to paper, because with my first comic, I was the writer, the colorist. I did everything except the flat colors on issue 2. So I didn't have to explain my thought process to anyone. It was just all me. But this time I had to explain it, and I had to show exactly what I was doing. So in preparing all the files to send to my team, that was something that was new to me. But they were able to like decipher my crazy notes, like these ridiculous mathematic equations, and they made it happen. And I was like, you understood that? Like, you understood that? Okay, all right. So that was probably the hardest part, was just translating, working from just being one person to a team and relaying information clearly and efficiently. But they nailed it, man. I swear, if this team was available to rent out, I would tell everyone, go get this team. They're amazing. But unfortunately, we're a little busy.
Yeah, a little busy right now,
great.
and going to be busy in the future.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because
yeah.
there's more Cookies and Scream, singular, on the horizon now that you've got a publishing deal, which is awesome.
Yes. Issue
you
2
have
is
any
going to start
questions for
production here soon.
Oh, when's it go into production?
It's going in production the end of September. So we're going to take
Wow,
the
that
script
is
and
soon.
start pages immediately.
That's like the end
Very
of the
cool.
month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not quite in September yet,
No,
right?
almost.
Oh,
Almost.
man. We're running out of time on our own campaign. We've got to make another push.
Yeah.
See if we can get people interested. Do you have any other questions for Sketchy Raven?
No.
No.
Just that
Cookies?
she's awesome.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah. That's...
All right. So, where can people find you on social media?
I am on Twitter at Sketchy Raven. I'm on Patreon, also at Sketchy Raven. On Patreon, we do a cool thing where if you're a Patreon member, you get like character cameos, and we're doing a special variant cover just for Patreon members. So they get their own little monster icon for Cookies N Scream, their own little monster character. So Patreon's huge, Twitter's huge, and then the Kickstarter. I'm really just focusing on the Twitter right now, I think.
Neostar says, I confess writing scripts are not my strong suit. In fact, I actually never did a comic book script before. That's okay. There's really no set way to do it, Neostar. You kind of have to figure it out, something good enough to be able to communicate it to your artist, and then the two of you work on figuring out the best way to move forward working on that. I could give you a couple of hints. DM me. We'll
there you
work
go.
something out. So yeah, I think that's going to be it from us tonight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications,
and tune into the frequency.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.